Are you ready to create a life you crave? Let's spin that doom loop of negativity into an upward success cycle and start living lucky. Good morning. I'm Jana.
I'm Jason.
We often have coffee. If you are a part of our community, you might have joined us for virtual coffee. Jason and I are always going to coffee shops to have our meetings. We sometimes take our computers there. We're all about coffee. And what's so crazy is I didn't start drinking coffee until like age 45.
Yeah.
And it felt like I needed that because I stopped drinking alcohol. And I was like, I need some sort of socialization where it feels like I can go and talk to people. It was more about the relationships.
And I will say that there's something about a nice warm cup of coffee, whether it's hot outside or cold outside, there's a nostalgic comfort there.
And also, you know, I at that time I was watching, I think it's on HBO, but there's a series called Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee.
Yep, Jerry Seinfeld.
And it not only made me laugh, but it just made me feel like, you know what, they're sharing an experience together. And there's something about connecting over an experience, over good conversation. And it just feels, like my soul was really needing that.
It's almost like a doorway.
Yes, it is. You know, they say the eyes are the window to the soul. Well, maybe a cup of coffee is the doorway to friendship and community.
Powerful conversation.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be coffee. We like the coffee, and that's something that we got up. This is how this whole podcast started, was us getting up during the pandemic when we realized that the world was going to go into isolation, that people were working from homes. They weren't going to have really contact with the outside world. We had to stay 6 feet apart.
Yes.
So we said, you know what? We know what's going to happen there. There's going to be depression. There's going to be isolation. There's going to be feeling like you're alone in the world.
And when you have isolation, depression, you're cutting off relationships, you're cutting off community, you're not sharing your troubles, your troubles start feeling heavier.
Yes, personal, pervasive.
The reason we know this is because we experienced this. We experienced it before the pandemic. So then when the pandemic happened, it almost felt like, okay, we know what people are about to go through. And the first thing people do is cut themselves off. And because of our situation that we all were in, that was happening.
We were forced to cut ourselves off.
And Jason and I know what happens to you mentally, emotionally, spiritually when you start isolating yourself.
Yeah, you start living on
a lonely island.
Effort Island.
You become, yes, you do. And then things tend to get
worse.
You go down this doom loop of despair, and next thing you know, you're at the bottom, and you think, how did I get here?
And can I even get out?
And why doesn't anyone care about me? Well, nobody cares about you because you have been pushing everyone away. You haven't been making the effort to reach out and connect.
And everyone has their own problems.
Oh, I mean,
But now you've got this weight of all your problems because you haven't been able to get an outside perspective or even see how other people are doing.
We create this ourselves, and it's not until you zoom out that you start seeing, oh my gosh. Anyway, the reason we're bringing this up is because Jason had a meeting over coffee late last week.
Yeah, with a friend of mine and a referral source that I haven't talked to in a long time. And it was at this place that was called Credo Coffee, downtown Credo in Orlando.
And you loved it.
I loved it. The coffee was great.
Yes.
And then I found out what their whole mission was and what their literal credo was for life.
So Jason brings home this little newspaper that he happened to pick up at the Credo Coffee shop. And this little newspaper was sitting on the counter. So this morning I pick it up and I say, oh my gosh, this is a fantabulous little newspaper. I want to know more about where this is from, who is writing this, and how this was all developed, because this is what I'm all about. I haven't even been to the coffee store yet.
Yeah, it's so beautiful when you find a place that just so deeply resonates with who you are, who you're becoming, your outlook on life, how you feel about things.
Yes.
And then you get to share a cup of coffee over it. It's crazy.
I want to call the owners up and say, hey, I want to meet you
Let's
for a
do
cup of coffee. We even found that in your Apple iPhone, if you want to text, let's do coffee, you don't even have to text it out. There's like a little shortcut, which
Thanks,
I don't
Dean.
know if many of you know this, but we learned this.
Short keys.
Yeah.
And that's something
You
I
just
picked up
text in
that coffee.
LDC.
LDC.
Let's do coffee.
And then it
just automatically creates the text message and sends it.
But now you don't have to type out the whole thing. Just let's do coffee. Here's my Calendly, and let's do that.
Okay.
Can I read
Please
Credo?
do. Please read Credo's Credo, because I'm going to start having a Jana's Credo.
That's right. And
I've got several. Don't get me wrong.
on their website, it says, we are instigated by our credo that says, life is worth living. I refuse to merely exist. I pursue a life of meaning and purpose, fulfillment and joy.
Okay, stop. Already. Isn't that lovely? I mean, my whole life,
That's living
Jason and
lucky.
I have been saying, you rock my world and make life worth living. That's how he proposed to me, was with that sentence. You rock my world and make life worth living. Their first sentence is,
Life is worth living.
life is worth living. Yes.
I refuse to merely exist. Like, I'm not going to be in this alone. I want to do it with you.
I want to find significance and purpose.
I pursue a life of meaning and purpose, fulfillment and joy.
Let's start asking the bigger questions.
Yeah.
Why am I on this planet? What am I here to really do?
What can I experience? How
Because
can I grow?
I don't think watching Netflix and doing social media is what my soul, came to this planet to do.
Yeah.
Are you with me on that?
Absolutely. And it feeds into the three most powerful questions, or three most important questions, however you want to look at it, was what do I want to experience?
Mm-hmm.
How do I want to grow? And how can I contribute?
Yeah. That's
So the
true.
next line in their credo is, the world is not yet as it ought to be. Neither is my city. Neither am I. And that's huge.
Because we're always growing, which is why I always wear a little sprout on my head. People are like, why are you wearing a little sprout on your head? I'm sure you've seen my little accessory that I wear. It's because I'm always growing. And when you have that mindset, I'm always growing, you turn to the light, you nourish what is important to you, you weed out what's not important to you.
That's so huge. I love
and
it.
you manifest what you think and what you feel.
Yeah. So it says,
You're growing what your internal, I mean, if you think of it that way, like what you feel and what you think is what you grow. We reap what we sow.
so big. So big.
Okay, read more. Read more of Credo's Credo.
I reject apathy and despair.
Stop. I'm putting that on the wall. I reject apathy
And despair.
and despair.
Stop with the negativity.
I've already made the decision long ago. I will not live in despair. I am not a victim. Life is working for me. So this despair stuff has got to go. The apathy, for me, that I'm like, I want those words on my wall, because sometimes we get busy being busy and then we think, I deserve a break.
Yeah.
I deserve a little break.
We treat ourselves, we just don't treat ourselves well. And we don't treat ourselves in progress towards our dreams.
And next time I say I deserve a break, instead of going to the couch and watching some streaming service, I'm going to go have a cup of coffee at Credo.
With a friend.
And I'm going to read Credo's Credo.
That's right. The next line is, I engage the world, I
Yes.
engage my city and
Yes.
myself, and make an impact for good. I am not alone. I press through narcissism, isolation, and self-sufficiency, striving to live in authentic community.
My ego has been one of my biggest obstacles. And once I just decided I'm going to squash this, it doesn't matter if I'm popular. It doesn't matter if I fit in. It doesn't matter. All of these things that I thought were so important.
I don't have
how
to be
I
right
look
all the time.
I don't have to
can
be
learn.
right.
Yeah.
Yes. I can just squash the ego and think about the bigger picture, which is the connections, being kind, giving, serving, and when
creating the life that you want.
And when you come at it with a different,
it's not. So it's instead of making, like forcing the life that you want,
you let it happen.
That's working on everything on the outside. But when you can actually start creating, is when you've changed yourself. You've changed, and then it starts changing outwards. Then you're changing your family. Then you're changing your neighborhood. Then you're changing your city. Then you're changing the world.
But you're when you say changing yourself, you're actually peeling away the conditioning that we have learned growing up. So you're actually unlearning. So we're not really changing ourselves. We're getting back to the little baby that came into this planet the way God created us. Yeah. It is getting back to that. You know what? I don't care what Instagram thinks. That's or how many likes I get. I'm just going to show up and be me.
And be the higher version of me.
The best version of me.
Oh, I love it. I'm going to Credo right now.
No, seriously, I think we need to team up with Credo. We need to send them this podcast and we need to ask them, hey, I want to sit down and have a cup of coffee with you, because whoever came up with Credo's Credo, whoever came up with this mission, I want to know more about them. Those are the people that I want to hang out with. Those are my peeps.
That's so true. And one of the things that I really want to know is what got you here? Because for me, I got goosebumps all over my body right now, because a lot of my clients
and us
had to go through
the fire.
Yeah, in the depths, like
you have to walk through the fire in order to see, oh my gosh.
It's not all about me. It's about all these other beautiful,
you walk through the
things.
Fire and you find the gold is what happens, yes. Right?
So I want to see where the turn came and how they landed in this beautiful space of creation.
You know what? Maybe Credo might be interested in being one of my first episodes for my upcoming TV show.
I think that would be good. We'll have to hear that story first.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, I just know it's going to be a good story.
It is definitely going to be a good story because they're taking action and they're instigating change.
And I also think that maybe we should make Credo's Coffee our Living Lucky coffee. Maybe we can set up some sort of, hey, let's put it in a little package and let's put it on our website.
I love their coffee, so I'm definitely down for a partnership in some way.
Oh, okay.
Keep living lucky.
And in the meantime, come up with your own credo. I'm going to come up with my own little mission statement, which I've done this before in the past, but I want to put it in words and I want to put it on my website so that people know this is what Jana and Jason are all about. And if we resonate with you, then
we're here for you.
We're your peeps. You're our peeps.
And I think I love the fact that you just mentioned that you've done this before, because I do believe that as we grow and as we learn and as we are becoming our best version of ourselves,
it changes.
It never
slightly.
ends to revisit and revise. That's it.
That's great advice. Great advice. Oh, I just have this little warm and fuzzy feeling, almost like I've just had a nice cup of coffee with a good friend and great conversation.
Yes.
Have a great day. Keep living lucky. Bye-bye. If the idea of living lucky appeals to you, visit us at startlivinglucky.com.